Okay. Well, thank you, Luis. Thank you for the introduction and for inviting me to present this work. I'll first give a very quick overview of the research and then present some work that I hope will contribute to the discussion today. My work is structured around the production, trade, transport, and distribution of copper. This PhD is part of a funded project, as Luis has explained, on the traces of nitrate, and aims really to contribute with the wider understanding of the history between Chile and Britain, and specifically about the role of the mining in the shared history. My work begins as a contemporary response to the nitrate problematic. I'm thinking of the landscape really as a kind of a stage for economic activity. The World Copper Factbook describes copper as a malleable and ductile metallic element that is an excellent conductor of heat and electricity, as well as being corrosion resistant. Copper plays a key role in the worldwide information and communication technologies. With a third of the world known reserves of copper, today the Latin American nation, which is Chile, accounts for over 1/3 of the world production. Mining, and instead of like copper mining and nitrate, both have been the main source of income since colonial times of Chile. And really, what the project starts is like looking back to the history of nitrates and then future to the copper industry. It's like wondering, and it's also like, it's your reflection of, as well, of how this landscape will look like in the future after mining has finished. This is the first body of work that I'm going to show. I'm going to show two bodies of work, which is first is 20 mining billboards, and then the second a toxic forest. 20 mining billboards was taken in the motorway of the mining region of Antofagasta. I see these billboards as legacies of foreign capital, mainly British and from the US, that have operated in the country since early 19th century. As Gerben claims, Chilean economy heavily depends on the large export-orientated natural resources, industries that have developed by foreign capital from metropolitan centers. My photographic practice examine something like Luis talks about, like and Gunderfrank, which is one of our main theoretical points of reference, this relationship with the metropolitan satellite structure of capitalism. In one hand, I photograph these developed metropolitan centers that absorb the surplus that is created and then is juxtaposed to these peripheral satellite sites that remain underdeveloped for the expropriation of this surplus. Between 1904 and 1916, large copper ores were purchased by US capital from local entrepreneurs, a process named as denationalization, which coincides with the process of the nitrate, which in this case was a British, and in this case is mainly from the US. Basically, it's the change of ownership of a key resource from natural to foreign capital. Vertically integrated firms brought to the country a system of production already in place, which permit economies of scale by integrating different parts of the production processes and the supply chain. Gibbons go further say large vertically integrated firms were and are capable of generating large part of its capital needed from itself. It allocated such capital to various stages of operation so as to coordinate my production with processing with the needs of the market, and transporting with mining, processing with marketing. It reduces the cost by controlling the market to some degree as well. So really what vertically integrated multinational corporation does is like integrate all the process of production in order to reduce the cost and create more profit, which is perfectly understandable. What is my work, our work, is just kind of reflect on what of those legacies of these are in the landscape, or how they remained in the landscape. And then what I think I'm trying to do with this body of work is showing you what percentage of these mining billboards belong to manufacturer or local manufacturing industry, and effectively none of them. Godefrank goes further, saying neither Chile nor any other country in the world which had already been previously firmly incorporated into the world of capitalism system as a satellite has since the 19th century managed to escape from this status to archive economic development. I'm also interested in these billboards as windows for an imaginary mining landscape. The businesses for Chileans remain as services like insurance companies, and of course, production of raw materials like cement. This is a kind of cement to build more mines. The next body of work that I'm going to show, and I think I have 3 minutes left, is called A Toxic Forest, and it's very much related to your project, because before you were coming, I thought it would be interesting to show this body of work, because it also talks about the water, and then what do Chileans do with the residues of the water. Toxic Forest is a series I developed in 2011 and 2012 in an artificially created forest of eucalyptus in the desert of Atacama. We have to remember that the desert of Atacama is the desert. There's no actually trees there. So everything is created, is artificial. A vast forest of eucalyptus has created to assimilate contaminated water residues from one of the most profitable mining operations, Los Pelambres. Los Pelambres also supports a reservoir for wildlife in the coast of Los Vilos, which is like halfway through between Santiago and between the nitrate fields. Water, I think there's been mentions of this. Water is it's an essential component. You talk about the water being an essential component of mining. So it's very important to have a lot of big supplies of water in order to produce copper, or gold, or nitrate in this case, especially for modern mining. I am interested in these opening discussions related to the significance of photographic intervention into the representation of hidden or neglected colonial histories. My work often uses mirror images as a strategy to converge spatial relationships within the landscape. This mirroring as double reflection, the duplication, in my point of view, stresses problematics beyond the represented landscape, the visible and the invisible, reflecting as using the double signifier of the world, both as mirror and consequence, as well as thought and consideration, is the space between them, the relationship between both images, what I'm interested in. It's also an aesthetic strategy that reinforces the idea by repeating it, considering that the mirror is a never identical to the original image. This artificial forest in the desert of Atacama is contaminated with water residues. It cannot be used for any other purposes. The access is restricted. It purely serves the problems created by the mining, as water cannot be deposited anywhere else. There's few environmental implications. I am interested in seeing how concepts of beauty and aesthetics as well can be read in relation to the images. How can you look at this forest and think maybe it's quite a beautiful forest, but in a way it is a contaminated forest. We don't have to forget that. And then what is we can't really see, but there's some pipes that are going on that kind of water all of this. And this is a very tall forest. I see the seriality and repetition of trees as a reflection of the mechanized, industrialized world in which copper mining plays a key role. So perhaps this forest remain as a residue not just for the mining operations of Los Pelambres, but also a residue of the wider network of circuits of exchange. With falling ore grades, and I'm finishing with this, with falling ore grades of copper in the mines as a serious problem developed in Chile, we wonder what is the future for mining landscape in these places after the operations have finished, and then we can see some examples in Johannesburg. And then this is all this contaminated water that comes from the mountains, and then it's stored here, and then is distributed into this forest. So there are tons of water, really. I mean, and then just to close this presentation, I would like to reflect on Xavier Rivas, which is our a photographer who initiated the project, and then his work on the nitrate fields in Tarapacá, Atacama, where operations have already finished, as Luis mentioned, and then also thought we could. He's done this fantastic work on the nitrate fields. It's a contemporary work, and then it reflects in this idea of what's going to happen after the operation is finished. So that's it. Thank you.